Okay, we learned in the Mishnah that there's a machlokes regarding the Gid Hanasha that's in the fetus. If someone shechts a mother and finds the fetus inside, so are they allowed to eat the Gid Hanasha that's there? It's machlokes Rabbi and Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi says no.
In Diraisa or Dirabana?
Diraisa.
Diraisa, but Diraisa, the blood is considered shechted already.
Shechted.
You can do Aver Menachem with Diraisa on a unborn.
Did we say Aver Menachem as well? Or did we say you just don't have to? I don't know.
No, that was they said that was the Machlokas Yosef and the brothers. He held B'nai Noach, which you couldn't, and they
I don't
held
know.
Torah.
No, but you're adding a point there to the Aver Menachem. I don't remember. The question is, they ate it without shechita. Oh, no, you're right. They ate it with the limb of the animal. Okay, so.
No, wait a minute. Didn't we have to cut off that limb and Ben Pekur?
Yeah, but that's because it was. Okay, let's stick to the regarding the Gid Hanasha that's in that fetus. That's machlokes Rabbi Meir and Rabbi Yehuda. Now, Rabbi Meir, we learned that it's only full term. So Rabbi Meir says that if it's full term, you need shechting anyway, and you also can't eat the Gid. So there really is no machlokes. If it's considered a ben pekua, then the Gid is mutter anyway. Then the Mishnah gave one more statement after this machlokes, and it says v'chel by mutter, and the fat is permissible. Now it says its fat is permissible. So it's unclear what its fat is. Is it referring to the fat of the shilya, of the shlil, of the fetus, which that's what we're talking about, or is it a new case and it's talking about the fat of the Gid Hanasha? Because there's fat around the Gid Hanasha. So the Gemara attempted to say that we're referring to the fetus, the fat of the fetus. Now the problem is that Shmuel, who's the first generation Amira, he came along and said that when it says Chel Bei Mutter, everyone agrees to that. So we said, 1 second. So if it's the fat of the fetus, that's a machlokes Rabbi and Rabbi Yehuda. Exactly like the Gid Hanasha was a machlokes, and we quoted a Bais. So we say it can't be referring to that. It must be ve'ela Chel Bei the Gid. We're talking about the chaylev of the Gid. Yesterday I thought it was the chaylev of the Gid of the fetus. No, chaylev of the Gid of every chaylev of Gid. There was a general discussion here. The fat of the Gid Hanasha, everyone agrees is permissible. That's what the Gemara attempts to say right now. The Gemara says, really? Hamiflik pligiba. That itself is a machlokes. So I'm on 92. Tzadik Bais and Bais. Maybe a third of the way down. First word on the line is miflag. Miflag pligiba. The Tanya, as it was taught in a brisa. Gid Hanasha, the sciatic nerve, you have to puncture and dig in to be able to take out from all its fine points, all its locations.
So chakatet means what? To
dig in.
Dissect.
Dissect? Okay.
It doesn't say that, but that's what you do.
You would use the word menachem.
Right.
Menachem,
Mechatet is like to bang in, to scoop in and to get it out. And you have to cut out the fat from the roots, from the inside. Div Reb Meir, that's the words of Reb Meir. Rabbi Yehuda says no. That you can cut it at the edge of the bone. It's unclear what shufi is referring to, but it's clear what it's referring to. It's unclear what the source of the word is. Shufi must be referring to the bone that the Gid Hanasha is on, which is the femur, as it comes out of the pelvis. Over there is the Gid Hanasha. You said you can just cut that off. You don't have to scrape into that area. You don't have to go in. Just cut out the visible part that's on the bone.
Wait, that's on the bone or that's on the gid?
That's on the fat. I'm sorry. That's on the
nerve.
You're cutting the nerve that's on the flesh. Right.
With the visible
With the-
flesh, that's
with the fat.
that's on it, yeah,
Right.
not the bone.
See,
Now-
Rashi is because Masai.
The fat would be the marasayan. Now,
Yeah,
the-
but over here it says Marasign because people will think you're eating the gid,
right.
not the fat. People will think you're eating the gid. Not
No,
That's what,
you take the fat off because people will think you're eating the gid. So you're cutting the fat because people think you're eating the
Oh,
gid.
fuck you.
Now, Rashi
This
puts
is a tough class.
Rashi
This
puts
is a contentious group.
Yeah, tough crowd, man.
But you're cutting the fat because it's easier to take it off altogether, no?
yeah, but the Gemara is not saying because it's easier. The Gemara is saying is the law that you're allowed to eat it, or is the law that you're not allowed to eat it? So we're saying here that there's a machlokes on the fat if you're allowed to eat it. According to Rabbi Meir, you have to take it out from the very beginning, and according to Rabbi Yehuda, you just cut it off at the outside. You just cut it from the outside, an easier cut you can cut off, and because it's not really prohibited, it's just because of Marasayan. So we said that there's no machlekes regarding the fat. It's not true. There is a machlekes. Rabbi Meir says you have to go all the way in to take it out. Rabbi Yehuda says no, it's not really prohibited. You can just cut it off there. Taisus is uncomfortable with the way Rashi's putting it because Rashi's saying that Rabbi Yehuda holds that the same location of the gid that's prohibited is the same location that the fat is prohibited. So he's saying, really, maybe according to Rashi, really we could say that there's no machlekes Rabbi Meir and Rabbi Yehuda. Both of them say that the fat is prohibited. It's just where is the fat? You follow that according to Rashi, if they're both the same location, the gid and if I would say that the fat I don't have to remove, but the gid I do have to remove, then I would say that Rabbi Yehuda allows the fat. But if I say I cut the fat at the same location that I cut the gid, then maybe he holds that that's the location of the gid, and the fat is prohibited along with it, and there's really no machlekes Rabbi Meir and Rabbi Yehuda. The only thing is that it would be just the opposite, because Rabbi Meir, the Mishnah says v'chel b'mutter, and here it would be everyone says it's aser. So basically we have a machlekes again. So what are we referring to? Gemara says leilam chel b'degid. Really, we're talking about the fat of the gid hanashe. We're not talking about just chelev that's in a shlil. We are talking about the fat that's surrounding the sciatic nerve. Umayda Shmuel, and Shmuel acknowledges the Rabbi Meir midrabanan aser. This that Rabbi Meir says that you have to go dig in after it to dissect it, to take out the fat. That's only rabbinic. The Tanya was taught in a brisa. B'shamnei mutter. The fat of the gid is permissible. Yisrael kadoshim nago bo yisr. But the holy Jews, they considered it prohibited. So it's not really prohibited, it's just the custom. So therefore, when the Mishnah says chel mutter, it's referring to the law, that the law is that biblically it's permissible. Gemara says, my lav, is it not, when we quoted that brisa, that the fat of the gid hanash is permissible, but there's a custom amongst the Jews not to eat it? That must be Rabbi Meir. He damar mutter min hatayra v'asam midrabanan, and he holds that it's mutter min hatayra. Very good. Everyone, even the strict one, holds that it's mutter min hatayra. The Gemara says, Mimai. How do you know that statement was Rabbi Meir? Dilma Rabbi Yehuda. Maybe that statement is Rabbi Yehuda, and Rabbi Yehuda is the lenient one. But Rabbi Meir holds that it's asam midaraisa. Avol Rabbi Meir midaraisa nami aser. Rabbi Yehuda that says that the fat that you don't have to dig in afterwards. He was referring to biblically you don't have to dig in after it, but maybe rabbinically you do. Maybe rabbinically or Jewish custom mandates that you do take it out, and Rabbi Yehuda holds that it's biblically forbidden, and there still is a machlekes. Gemara says leisal kadaitach. Don't think like that. The Tanya, It's taught in a Bais, Gid Hanasha Mechatet Achrav B'chol Makim Shehu. The Gid Hanasha, you have to dissect to take it out. B'shamnei mutter. And the fat is permissible. Gemara says, Man shametle de islei chatita. Who told us, who's of the opinion that you need to dissect the area to take out the gid? Reb Meir. It's the opinion of Reb Meir. Uka amar shamnei mutter. And nevertheless it says that the fat is permissible.
When you say this term dissected, do you mean that you have to be very precise, or do you mean you have to go all the way in and make sure you take it all out?
Both.
No, I'm saying
Right.
one way is to say you have to take exactly precisely just that piece,
Oh.
or one way is to say you take a whole bunch extra to make sure you got it.
Uh-huh.
So you keep using this term, I don't know what you're referring to.
Yeah, so the term mechatet means to puncture and to dig in to pull it out.
So we're really just focusing just on the actual
Right,
itself.
just on the gid. Question is, how deep into the flesh do you have to dig to get it out? That's the machlekes. Do you want pictures?
I said, no pictures, you need to pay attention.
Oh. Oh, I thought you had pictures of the animal. Okay. Amar Rabbi Yitzchak, Bar Shmuel, Bar Marta, Amar Rav. Rabbi Yitzchak, Bar Shmuel, Bar Marta. 3 generations there. He says in the name of Rav, Lo Yasser Torah, Ela K'neiknes Shabai. The Torah only forbade the K'neiknes, which are the branches that branch off the nerve. What's the English word for that? Is there a word?
Offshoots.
Offshoots, okay. That's easy. Only the offshoots. The reason why he says this is because the actual nerve is considered inedible. It's considered like wood. And so the Torah only forbade what would be softer, which are the offshoots. Chiddush, a lenient opinion here. Ula Amar Eitzu. Ula says, yes, it's like wood. However, V'atera chiv alav. But the Torah says that it's prohibited. So if you eat it, that's the violation. And therefore, according to Ula, maybe the k'neiknes are not the forbidden parts. It says that clearly, but definitely the Gid Hanasha itself is prohibited according to Ula. So Machlekes Rav and Ula. Amar Abaya. Abaya says Kavasei de Ula Mistabra. Bais says that it makes sense, Ula's opinion, that the Torah forbade it, even though it's not really edible. Damar Rav Sheshes, Samar Rav Asi. Rav Sheshes says in the name of Rav Asi, let's look at some charts here to see what we're doing. That's the Tanaim. Here we had a Machlekes Rav and Ula. Rav and Ula. It's being quoted by Reb Shmuel, by Rabbi Yitzchak Bar Shmuel Bar Marta. It's probably somewhere down here as well, but it's not on the chart. And now Abaya says that it makes sense to go like Ula, and he says why does it make sense? Because Rav Sheshes says in the name of Rav Asi. Rav Sheshes here says in the name of Rav Asi. Rav Asi was in Israel after. He says, Chutin shebechelav asurin. Veins that are in the fat are prohibited. Vein chayav and aleim, but there's no karas for that. In other words, they're not considered the fat. Why? Alma, we see from that, consequently, that chelav amrachman of lechutin. The Torah says chelav, it means chelav. It doesn't mean the veins that are in the chelav. The chelav is the forbidden fat. So hachanami, here also. Yid amrachman, the Torah says the nerve. V'lei k'neiknes, it doesn't say the offshoots. Interesting little piece, but like, what's the connection exactly? But it wants to say that if the Torah says that's what's prohibited, that's what it means. It says what it means. It says the Gid Hanasha, and that's it. Okay, gufa. Gufa is the word that we said is referring back to a statement of Amirayim, returning to the text that we had from Amirayim.
Excuse
See
me,
what
before,
they say.
before
Yeah.
we go back, I'm still a little confused
Now,
about
what you have to put the
what
Shkin say,
these,
thank you.
these offshoots, these tendrils that we're talking about, both of the,
2 Gidanashas?
yeah?
If we're going to be strict about it, we only said that one of them is really prohibited, right?
Right.
Biblically. One of them was. One of them was.
Right side.
No, I'm not talking about the right or the left. There's a pnimi and a chitzin of the. I'm not sure. Are you referring to the right and left, or are you referring to the pnimi and the chitzin?
Talking about the panemi and the chitzon,
Panemi and
because
the
if we're
chitzon.
talking about all the little tendrils that can come off this nerve, it's
Right.
totally understandable why people
Why you
butchers
can't.
just
Right.
cut the whole leg
Right.
off and throw
Right.
it out.
That's probably what's going on.
Yeah, but it's for the media.
They don't throw it out.
Possibly.
As far as them don't throw it out.
Possibly that machlokes is based on what's the pnimi, what's the chitzon, because we mentioned there's a machlokes, what's the pnimi, what's the chitzon, and the machlokes if they hold the about the kneiknas. So and it's not just Svardim have traditions where to cut. They could be paskening which part of the Gid Hanasha is prohibited, because we had a discussion which area is the pnimi. Which remember we saw in the pictures. Now it could be, I don't know.
But the Sfaradi Menaker, the Gid Anashe, they take it out.
Right. I'm saying why? How come they can do it and Ashkenazim can't? They have better knives.
No, they have very better profession. I don't know why.
So I'm saying it could be because of what area of the gid. Over here we're seeing this machlekes about what part of the gid. Could be that they paskin differently. Make it easier to take it out.
Rabbi,
Yeah.
the reason Svardim in certain situations like this hold differently is because what they were out of the mainstream halachic transmission, like in Babel, or this.
No.
What is the?
How do these machlekes come about?
Yeah,
So
These guys are all Sfardi.
Yeah, they are Sfaradi. Yeah.
so
The Gemara is mostly written like Sfardi.
but that's why I don't understand why is all of a sudden this farm always doing these things that
so
we can't do?
as we're learning the
Take a
Gemara,
picture of you.
there's possibly different interpretations of what each piece is referring to. And then we have contradictory Gemaras. We have a Gemara here that may be different than the conclusion that we had earlier. And then we can question which one is the main sugya, which one is... which answer did it not really mean? Sometimes it can give an answer, but it's just saying, oh, you can't prove from that, but it doesn't mean that that's what we hold. And so we have all of these differences. The early Sephardic Paiskim have different ways of learning than the Ashkenazic Paiskim. Like Tosfos would be the Ashkenaz and the Rambam would be Sfard. So if the Ashkenazic Paiskim are heavily basing themselves on Tosfos, and the Sfardim are basing themselves on the Rambam or the Gaon. So and it has to do with how we're going to resolve conflicts between different Gemaras and rules of what each piece means and all of that.
So it's a lot more complicated.
Right.
Than just,
It's amazing why Ashkenazim did not do the Gid Anashe. Because we see by the lungs, they not machmir like the Sfaradi. Because Mamon Lamcha, the money of the Jewish people is not the Rama posek that is okay. And here you go, because it's waste. If you don't use Gid Anashe, you will not be able to use the Achoraim of the Bara. So it's to me look like a conflict.
Yeah. I'll explain it. The answer is that the answer is that in those areas where the Sfardim lived, they didn't need to rely on the leniencies that the Rama needed. The Rama lived in Krakow. Over there was very cold. It was in Poland, and the Sfardim lived in the warm climates. They didn't. The issues in the lungs were not such issues. If one animal had an issue in the lungs, don't eat it. In Poland, every single animal had a problem in the lungs. You'd say, okay, then there's nothing to. So you found the leniencies. Now, regarding the how to take out the Gid Hanashe, that had to do with how they ruled on the Gid Hanashe. I assume that for the Sfardim it was easier to remove because they paskin differently what's considered the Gid.
did they have a lot of cows? I mean, compared to the Ashkenazim, or less?
That I don't know. That I don't know.
Because because they used the sefer. They made all these sefer Torahs with what, deer skin?
Yeah.
Or whatever?
They had smaller animals.
Okay, let's follow this through. Kufa. Amar Rav Sheshis, Amar Rav Asi. Rav Sheshis says in the name of Rav Asi. So that Rav Sheshis is on the Amiroi Bavel. He's down here. Rav Sheshis, and he's saying in the name of Rav Asi, who's up a generation earlier. Chutin shebechelav asurim. We said the fat that's in this, the veins that are in the fat are prohibited. However, it's not considered fat. Vein chayav an aleim. Shebekulya. However, the veins that are in the kidney, that's asurin. Or actually, it's not. However, it's the same rule. Vein chayav an aleim, and also you're not chayav on them. However, luban kulya, when it comes to the white fat that goes into the kidney, that's a machlekes Rabbi for Reb Chia. Rabbi and Reb Chia would be, they put them up here on the top of the Amirayim chart. Rabbi Yehuda Nasi and Reb Chia is his student. Very early. Rabbi and Reb Chia, Chad Aser v'Chad Shari. One says that the white fat that's inside the kidney is prohibited, and one says that it's permissible. The word shari means permissible. Shari.
Mutar.
Is it? Right.
Yeah. Mutar, the shin and the
The shin and the tuff.
The tuff
Right.
and the
And
resh.
the tuff and the shin.
Typical Rabbi Smith.
And now, Rabba Mimaritle, Rabba would cut it out, which means that he held that it was prohibited. And Rabbi Yochanan Mimaritle, Rabbi Yochanan also would cut it out. Here we have Rabba is in the center in Babylonia. He's Rabbi Bar Nachmani, and Rabbi Yochanan in Israel. Both of them would cut it out. Rabasi Goimle. Rabasi is also, we had Rabasi a minute ago. Maybe it's this Rabami and Rabasi from the Rabasi that's right there. He would just cut off the top. He wouldn't dig in to take it out.
He ate the kulya.
The picture
Right.
in the art school is very good.
Oh,
The one that shows he would cut the white
Oh.
fat that's coming out.
coming
of
out,
the
but
kidney.
in very good. So, Omar Abaya says, Kavaseder Rabasi Mistabra. It makes sense to go like Rabasi, to be lenient. Amar Rab Abba, Amar Rab Yehuda, Amar Shmuel, because Rab Abba says in the name of Rab Yehuda and the name of Shmuel. Rab Yehuda, Amar Shmuel we have all the time. Rab Yehuda, Amar Shmuel, and now we have a Rab Abba that says in the name of Rab Yehuda, Amar Shmuel. We're going to have Rab Abba in the name of Rab Yehuda, Amar Shmuel another three times today, I think. Chelev shahabasar chayfa isay mutar. Any fat that's covered by flesh is permissible. So since the fat that's inside the kidney is covered, it's permissible. It's covered by the kidney. It's only the outside that you need to cut off. Alma, sha'alak salam amar rachman avleisha b'teichak salam. Hachanami sha'alak klayas amar rachman avleisha b'teichak klayas. Okay, apparently, on the back of the animal, on the flanks of the animal, there's fat, there's flesh and fat, and flesh and fat, and there's in one of these areas there's a thin layer of flesh that's covering, very thin layer of flesh that's covering some fat, and the fat that's protruding outside of this thin layer of flesh, that's considered chelev, that's prohibited. But the fat that goes underneath that thin layer of flesh, that's going to be permissible. Because it says chelev sha'alak salim, it has to be on top, but not shebetoich, but not that's embedded inside. So because it's slightly covered, so that's considered permissible. And Rashi quotes this. He says that in the lands of Ashkenaz, they would permit this this thin layer of skin, this thin layer. They would consider this thin layer of flesh as a covering of the fat. So therefore, because of this rule that it needs to be on top, the fat needs to be on top, not embedded, so too in the kidneys, the fat needs to be on top, not embedded. Okay, gufa. Let's go back to another statement. Amar Rabbi Abba, Amar Rabbi Yehuda, Amar Shmuel. Rabbi Abba says the name of Rabbi Yehuda, the name of Shmuel. Chelev shabasar chayfa yisem mutter. Chelev. Do you have pictures there of the fat?
I just showed you. Oh,
Not in the
another
kidney. Oh, that's the. Oh, here. So let me see over here.
Let's see.
Got it.
one?
Interesting.
We're looking at the rump.
That's good.
Okay, what's happening here is if you see there's layers, there's the red is the flesh and the yellow is the fat. So you're seeing layers of fat that's covered by flesh, and that would be permissible.
Cabbage.
The yellow is the fat.
This is the striation level by level.
Yeah.
When you first start learning about the forbidden fat, so then you have a piece of meat and there's a piece of fat attached, right? And your first thing is, this fat, I can't eat this. And then they tell you, no, there's different types of fats, and
Sure.
right. But so what we're saying here is the fat that's attached, not actually the Gemara before, the Gemara several months ago was that if it's not separated by a membrane, then that's not considered the prohibited fat. The fat that was covered by a membrane, that's the chalev. The fat that's attached to the meat directly, that wasn't. Here we're adding a point. We're saying that if it's covered by flesh, then it's also not considered chalev. There was a very interesting Even Ezra, where the Even Ezra was arguing with the Karaite, and the Karaite says, Karaite. It's a different type of person. So the Karaite says, how come you people eat fat? When it says in the Torah that Kol Chelev LaHashem, Parshas Tzav, or whatever, it says it has to be, you can't eat it. So he tells him, that's only by sacrifices, that the sacrifice goes on, and which is not what the halacha says. And the Karaite says, oh my gosh, you guys are right, the rabbis are right. But it's just like such a funny piece, because he doesn't tell him the true answer, and the Karaite admits to it. So it's just, okay. It's in the Even Ezra. So we mention this again, that chelev, that the flesh covers over, is permissible. We say, Eily, is that really so? V'amar Rabbi Abba, Amar Rabbi Yehuda, Amar Shmuel. Rabbi Abba says in the name of Rabbi Yehuda, Amar Shmuel again. This is the same. What do we call the triumvirate? These three names.
Triad.
And the triad. Hai tarba, the tusi masni is aser. The fat that's under the loins is prohibited. He says this is the. I'm not sure exactly where this is. It's somewhere over there, and there's a question that apparently, when it's covered, it's still fat that gets covered is still prohibited. So Amar Abai answers, Behema b'chaya prukim mifrika. When the animal's alive and it moves around, it moves its legs this way, it moves its legs that way, it gets exposed. It's not always covered. Amar Rabbi Yochanan says, we're in good company here. I'm not a butcher, and I'm not the son of a butcher. And it appears to me, that this is what they would say in the Bais Medrash. That an animal, while it's alive, it moves around, and different areas get exposed, and so therefore there would be other places where the fat, it looks to you covered, and it should be permissible, but actually when it's alive, it's actually getting exposed, and therefore it's prohibited. Amar Rabbi Abba, Amar Rabbi Yehuda, Amar Shmuel. Once again, Chelev Shala, Hemsis and Beis HaKosos. The Hemsis and the Beis HaKosos are two parts of the stomach, omasum and reticulum. The Beis HaKosos we had, if you remember, was the honeycomb appearance. Remember that? There was the skin of the stomach looked like a honeycomb. So the fat that's on that's aser v'anush kares. That is the real fat. And v'zeu chelev shala kerev. This is the fat that when it says in the Torah that the chaylev that's on the innards, the fat that's on the innards is prohibited, it's referring to this. Now, Rashi says it's actually not referring to this, it's actually referring to another piece. But this is attached to it, so this is considered part of that fat. So what it means, it's also referring to this. This is also part of that. You see that in Rashi? Amar Rabbi Abba, Amar Rabbi Yehuda, Amar Shmuel. Rabbi Abba says in the name of Rabbi Yehuda, Amar Shmuel, Hai Tarba de Kalibusta. This fat that's on the Kalibusta. Kalibusta is a part of the tailbone. I saw in the translation that it's coccygeal. Coccygeal, is that a
the
bone?
coccyx is the tailbone.
Okay. So that's aser vanish karis. That's prohibited. The fat that's on it is considered chaylev, forbidden fat, which is the severe punishment of karis, of excision. V'zeu chaylev shalak salim. This is the fat that's on the loins. Okay. V'amar Rabbi Abba, Amar Rabbi Yehuda, Amar Shmuel. Rabbi Abba says the name of Rabbi Yehuda, Amar Shmuel, Chutin Shabiyad Aturin. So gesund. He says that the veins that are in the hand that comes down the forearm, those are prohibited. Rashi says that we take them out from the shoulder. He says those are prohibited. Now the assumption here is that we're referring to fat. That's the continuation. Amar Rav Safra, Safara, Amar Rav Safra, Moshe. That's an expression of Rashi says Talmud Chacham. It's a nickname. Mi Amar Rachmana Leitechel Bisra. Does the Torah say not to eat meat? He's saying, what's the problem? It's not. There's no fat. Those veins aren't fat. Why are you saying you can't eat the veins that are in the forearm? There's no fat there. Amar Rava. So Rava responds to him. He says, Moshe uses the same nickname back. He says, Mi Amar Rachmana Chaldama. Does the Torah say to eat blood? In other words, you got the wrong prohibition here. But you thought that we're referring to fat. So you said there's no fat there. We're not referring to fat, we're referring to blood. The veins contain blood. Chatche yumalche, if you cut it and you salt it, afilu l'kter nami shapridami. You have to cut the veins to let the blood out. And then you salt it, so then it's permissible to eat. Amar Rabbi Yehuda, Amar Shmuel. Again, Rabbi Yehuda, Amar Shmuel, but it's not Rabbi Abba, Amar Rabbi Yehuda, Amar Shmuel, so we're still in the same source. Reish ma'i ba'amsa boy greira. The top of the small intestines, the first amma of the small intestines,